the Saturday morning, everybody? Welcome to this baby we call The Sweat here on DraftKings Network and VSiN, a program we bring you every Saturday and Sunday morning here, 8 to 10 Eastern Time. We are live and we are thriving today. I am Emerson Latzia, your host for the next 2 hours. Steve Buchanan in the house. Sir, I want to shake your hand. How are you today?
I mean, I'm here, Julian's not. That's all you need.
What's going on with him? Now listen, he's going to pop in. He's going to pop in a little bit, but he's not here at the start of the show. He's hardly here every weekend. He's always sick. And now he's taking his family on vacation when he's sick, going to get his family and his lovely children sick.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He's a selfish person.
He is.
He's only healthy when he's in Vegas.
Thank you.
I mean, that's all you need to know about the guy.
Exactly. You know what? You know what's sick? This show, baby. Here's what we got coming up. Masters class. We're going to preview round 3 today at Augusta. The weather's going to be perfect, people. Jeff Ulrich will join us live. We'll talk Tiger, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments, best bets today. Jackson's in action. Steve, all these young kids in Major League Baseball have the same name. Am I missing something here?
I mean, apparently that's what I should have named one of my kids.
For real. Instead, you went with Jake and Evan. Real
I was close. I was in the right letter.
And then UFC 300. It's finally here, people. We've been talking about it for years, to be honest with you, some of the hardcore UFC fans. And we got Dave Ross from VSiN to help you build a money-making betting card. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's start at Augusta National because, Steve, I'm not sure how dialed in you were to this the past 2 years here as we work up a sweat, ladies and gentlemen, the same way we start the show every weekend. The winds were howling. It was like hurricane.
Major delays, right?
We had a delay at the start on Thursday because of rain. Then the sunshine just started to pop through. But Mother Nature was just all over the place.
What was she doing?
What's that?
What was she doing?
She was blowing wind.
Now do that again? Okay.
Really bad. Patrons were chasing their hats like all over the place. And Tiger was chasing history. And Tiger Woods got it, people.
Birdied on the first hole, right?
He birdied the first hole, too, which I believe was a prop you could have bet on the DK Sportsbook. I said on the show a month and a half ago when he pulled out of Riviera, his tournament with the flu, and had to get in the back of the ambulance. Everyone's like, oh, my God, he's not going to play again until the Masters at Augusta. I said, doesn't matter. Bet him to make the cut then. I don't know if it was available. Said it last week on the show. Bet him to make the cut. Guys like Golick Sr., everyone else, always lost it. Can't do it. Just going to crap himself. Not strong enough to make his rounds around Augusta, the hilly hills of Augusta National. He made the cut, 24th consecutive cut made. That is history, people. And you know what? Tiger Woods, Tiger roars through Augusta National are epic. There's no better sound in the world, though, than Tiger roars Augusta National on the weekends. And right now, he said yesterday, after his performance, I'm confident I can go out there and shoot a low number and get back in contention. What is he, like 7 strokes back right now? Wouldn't hate betting him for a top 10, okay? Maybe sprinkle a little something on there for Tiger Woods, but get juiced up because we're going to see Tiger making his way around the Masters. A couple bets I do like, Steve. Now listen, one of the storylines entering the Masters, 13 live golfers were in the field. You know, everyone says, oh, live, can't talk about live. Screw that, I'm talking about live. 8 of 13 live guys made the cut, okay? Jon Rahm, defending Masters champion, about 10, 11 strokes back right now. The scoring today and tomorrow are going to be low. Conditions will be ideal. Temperatures, mid-70s, 80s tomorrow, sunshine, okay? Sunshine and low wind. So Jon Rahm, who's kind of been backdooring these top 10s on live, about 10, 11 strokes back, is going to dial in today. Plus 700 for a top 10 for Jon Rahm. Okay, you do not want to give up on this guy as he's going to go low today and tomorrow. And unlike live, the man has 2 rounds now. 2 rounds now to make up instead of just one like he does on live. One of the best players in the world. He's not been playing his best golf here through 2 rounds, but look for Rahm to go on a few birdie runs when conditions ease up today and tomorrow. He's going to work his way back up the leaderboard. So don't panic. If he doesn't do it today, he's just got to finish the weekend top 10. Also, Cam Smith, another one of those live guys, 4 top 10 finishes over the last 5 years here at Augusta. He plays this course well. He's a horse for the course. I actually do like him. He's only 5 back right now. Hardly been on any TV coverage. But that's going to change today when he goes on a birdie fest. Top 5 plus 320 for Cam Smith. And if you just want to do top 10, plus 110 there. All right? Have high expectations for those two guys. Don't let me down. I've looked semi-smart on this show the past few weeks.
You know who the books are probably happy about not performing well? Brooks Koepka.
You're telling me, dude.
He was one of the most bet players to win it all.
And then you had Dustin Johnson there, too, because he set the scoring record when, because of COVID, this was a fall event, and he missed the cut. And we'll talk about some of the biggest disappointments with Jeff at the Masters coming up in this show. Right now, you're warming up to something on the diamond, so talk to me.
Boy, I mean, this is something that we gotta discuss. I know it's April 13th, very, very early. But let me throw something your way, whoever's watching at home and getting their bets in early. What if the Houston Astros aren't good? What if this is the year that the Houston Astros take a step back?
Wait a minute. So this is the team that's made 6 or 7 straight?
Oh, yeah, that's
ALCS?
it. In Houston, Texas. That's right.
Wow.
Yeehaw land. What if this is a team that actually is about to take a step back this season? And you could say, well, it's April 13th. They'll come out of it. They're 4-11 to start already.
Oh, my gosh. That's terrible.
Last place in the American League West. Can you believe that? In a division that has the Angels and the Athletics, the Houston Astros are in last place. And the problem is, and they're going through a tough stretch with injuries right now, this team does not have any pitching at all. You got Valdez with that elbow issue. You got Justin Verlander coming back. You're going to rely upon a 41-year-old aging ace to be the stronghold of your rotation moving forward. That rotation, as of April 13th, has a 5.79 ERA. They're walking an average of 5 batters per 9 innings, and they're striking out only 7 per 9 innings. That is not going to fly in this day and age of Major League Baseball. And they're not stranding runners. They're letting all these guys score that are on base. They have one of the lowest strand rates in baseball. They're only stranding 64% of the hitters that the starting rotation is putting on base right now. J.P. France, Hunter Brown, just getting demolished when they go on the field right now.
Who are these guys?
Exactly. Who are these guys? Right.
What
exactly.
happened to them? Dude, they have changed.
Here. I'll tell you who they are.
Okay.
You know who they are? Not MLB caliber pitchers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say frauds.
No, I'm not saying frauds because they weren't never good to begin with.
Okay.
So how can you be a fraud if you were never good to begin with?
So fake players, fake contenders.
So I'm telling you right now, you know what I'm thinking?
What?
Astros miss the playoffs.
Whoa, because they still have the second best odds to win the division.
They certainly
Rangers
do.
plus 145, Astros plus 165.
But you know what? Because when you think about even with the expanded wild card that we have, there's some good teams in the Central. We were banking on one team to come out of the Central, basically whoever wins that division.
So right now, this does not look like a team that's going to make it back to the ALCS. Now, that doesn't mean they can't go out and change things.
Sure.
Acquire players.
But you know what?
Dudes up.
When everybody was sitting on their ass and not signing a premier starter, when Jordan Montgomery was there, when Blake Snell was there, and this team did not go out and do that and get a frontline starter. They've never had a frontline starter.
Sounds like the team right down the road from us.
Well, that's a different story. But the Astros were coming into the season without a frontline starter. You could say Valdez was one of those guys, but you know what? They could have got Blake Snell. They could have got Jordan Montgomery. That would have changed the landscape of that rotation because then those guys can complement Justin Verlander. They can complement Valdez. I think the Astros might be taking a step back this year because I like the Royals. Royals are playing hot right now. They win the division, and then the Guardians come through as a wild card team. You're going to get 2 teams from the East at least. All of a sudden, that wild card's looking mighty fine, mighty thin.
Well, the AL West looks nothing in terms of odds like the NL West. The Dodgers minus 650 to win that division. Oh, Shohei last night with a big tater, a double. The guy continues to get it done on this super team. Diamondbacks next closest team there.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up, though, is because news late last night, his ex-interpreter here, the former interpreter of Shohei Ohtani, Ippei Mizuhara, turned himself in to federal authorities Friday after allegedly stealing $16 million from the Dodgers star. So he made a federal court appearance on Friday afternoon in L.A., He was reportedly in shackles around his ankles that were later removed.
I don't think he's violent. That's
during the hearing.
Unnecessary.
I know. That does seem a little unnecessary here. So he did not enter a plea here, Steve, and was reportedly released on $25,000 bond. So
who paid that?
I have no idea.
That's what I want to know. Who paid that bond?
I mean, hell, maybe the illegal bookie he was using in Southern California, the illegal bookie who made $40 million off of this guy. Now, I don't know if he pocketed all of that or not, but this is wild.
You know what kills me? Look at this picture. All the money this guy stole, he couldn't get a haircut. Look how awful his hair looks.
Buddy,
you tell me all that money he had, he couldn't get a haircut?
Buddy, he had the easiest cake job on planet Earth.
He really did.
And somehow, some way, he's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to screw it up. And the quote from him that we heard in this hearing, that he had texted that bookie, man, I'm not really good at the sports betting thing, huh? LOL. No, dude. Congratulations to all of you watching. You are not the worst sports bettor on the planet.
That's good.
That title goes to the ex-interpreter of Shohei Ohtani.
Yep, congratulations.
I still want to know what that $10 bet was that he made, by the way. All right, coming up, Julian Edlow will slide into the analyst chair. We're going to look back at an NCAA tournament that was. How much he liked UConn's chances to at a three-peat next year. Yeah, it's way too early to talk college basketball futures, but we're doing it anyway.
Thanks for joining us, Jules.
Back here on Les Sweat, our beefy, boisterous, basketball-loving friend Julian Edlow is here. Big fan of the UConn Huskies, who just helped make you some money. Congratulations there.
Thank you. Yeah. I have Dan Hurley has made me enough money over the last 2 years now that I no longer want him off the face of this planet for leaving the University of Rhode Island. So we can call it even now.
He's still one of the most hated men in college basketball.
I've always loved him because he was my coach for 6 years.
A lot of people hate him because he just wants to fight fans all the time, and he's a very confident man. I like it.
Fine with fighting fans if you're my coach.
Yeah, sure.
And you leave me high and dry.
Absolutely. So he just led the Huskies to back-to-back titles here. First time we've seen that in nearly 2 decades in college basketball. What impressed you the most about UConn's run?
The dominance.
Unbelievable.
6-0 against the spread this year, 6-0 against the spread last year. All the wins by 14 plus this year, all the wins by 13 plus last year. Huh. They didn't let anyone get close. They left no doubt. And, last year they didn't play a 1 or a 2 seed, and they won it all as a 4 seed. This year you see the path. 16, 9, 5, 3, 4. They beat some good teams in Illinois and Alabama, but they had not faced a 1 or a 2 seed. You get Purdue, number 2 in Ken Palm, the other, best number 1 seed, the team that people thought could give UConn the most trouble, and you win by 15. Left no doubt that this was the best team this year, was the best team last year, and they're the best program moving forward.
Hell, I'm old enough to remember when UConn was plus 400 to start the tournament. You were a little nervous about their path ahead when the seeding was originally announced weeks ago. It's time for a sweat-filled flashback from our bracket breakdown special.
I don't like that UConn got that draw. If Auburn was in a lot of other regions, if they got Baylor's draw, if they were a 3 seed down there, I'd have them going to the Final Four to play UConn. But yeah, I think now the narrative has kind of shifted to look how tough the path is for UConn, and it's getting people almost off of the best team. I'll stick with the Huskies.
Well, congrats on being right, Julian. Why did this turn out to be so damn easy for him, though?
I mean, Auburn getting bounced by those nerds over at Yale.
Oh, certainly. There's no bigger Yale hater on the planet than this guy. It's
if you go to a school, if you go to an Ivy League school, you go
get yearly physical. That dude probably went to Yale. Be careful.
Okay. Anyway, Auburn goes down in embarrassing fashion, opens up the path a little bit. I mentioned, Purdue's one of the teams people thought could beat UConn. Auburn was one of the very few teams people thought could beat UConn. They didn't get the chance. But the dominance, it was a short number on UConn, so people were scared to bet it. But it seemed too obvious. The team seemed too square. But then you look back and it's like, well, they're just the best team. You should have bet them, and you just keep betting them along the way.
People just saw in the flashback, there's a reason that you need to be dialed into this show, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern time every Saturday and Sunday morning on DK Network and VSiN. Were there any other pre-tournament takes that you're either right or maybe wrong on that you want to expose yourself on here? Be a man?
I liked the path for Kentucky. I thought they had a great path.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even have a coach anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had a handful of Kentucky futures that lost me a good deal, of money. That was definitely the most glaring loss. UConn, I was the most right about, but they were the most easy to be right about. Nothing else too crazy. Okay. I guess it was another wild tournament where you can, a lot of really good teams lose, and again, that just loops back to the most impressive thing about UConn. They don't allow even a chance to get upset. They're never even on the ropes.
Well, right now they have a chance to three-peat, which is in the eyes of odds makers, which is something we haven't seen since the days of John Wooden and UCLA. So UConn and Duke, as we look ahead to next year already, folks, I know it just ended days ago, both the co-favorites at plus 1,000. Why are the Blue Devils getting this love?
Because they're getting a man by the name of Cooper Flagg, who is one of the best prospects in college hoops in a while. Obviously, Wembanyama didn't go to college. This is considered one of the top guys and a shoo-in to be the number 1 pick in a while. So they're going to have him. We'll see how that works out with the guys that they do wind up retaining. They're going to get some guys that go to the NBA. They already have some guys entering the portal. I can't bet anything right now. It's too hard. We don't there's going to be so much movement the way the portal is set up now. We really just don't know what things are going to look like. What I will say, UConn's come tumbling down. UConn, I think was in the 18-1 range at one point, and then they win again.
Yeah.
Now they're a 10-1 co-favorite.
Are they expected to lose a lot of guys here?
Well, we got to see. I mean, if Klingon, this is an extremely weak NBA draft.
Yeah.
One of the weakest in years. If Klingon wants to go, he can go, and he'll be a much higher pick than he would be probably even if he stayed another year and improved, just because of the strength of class. So, what's more valuable to him in the NIL age? Does he want to go to the NBA, or does he want to stick around as a local from Bristol, Connecticut, and try and do the unheard of and three-peat? So it's going to depend what this team looks like. They're going to have to lose some pieces, but the way Hurley's building this thing out, UConn's going to get a ton of interest in the portal. Who wouldn't want to go to UConn after we saw Cam Spencer? He came there from Rutgers, how he looked. Tristan Newton came from Eastern Carolina. We saw how he looked, most outstanding player. They're going to get dudes.
You've already mentioned there's really no one to build anything right now at Kentucky because John Calipari has decided to bolt for Arkansas. So here's how it moved the odds here. Arkansas now at plus 4,000. That is that's plus 3,000 now. Damn. Okay, that's down from plus 7,000.
Yep.
And then UK to what now? From plus 1,600 originally. What are they now?
2,000.
Okay, so that stayed the same. Where do you see this move having the biggest betting impact here next season?
Well, the impact,
does it shake anything up in the SEC too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The impact has happened. 70-1 to 30-1 on Arkansas is the move. But guess what? If John Calipari does what he's been doing over the years, you're just going to have a good number on a 3 seed that loses to a 14 seed in the first round, because that's what he's been doing. He's bringing a lot of his Kentucky guys with him.
And you were the guy who said on this show weeks ago too, Jules, with the way that their season ended. You said it was time for him to end his era in Kentucky. But Kentucky said we were going to stick around. He's like, no, actually, I'm going to take off.
Yeah, it saved the program $33 million by saying, you know what, we're not going to fire you. All right, I quit. That saves you $33 million. So that's nice. They can use that to heave at their next coach as they try and throw piles of money at somebody. It's obviously a great job, but they needed rebuilding. Calipari just wasn't coaching well. He was just getting the talent and helping the talent reach the NBA and skipping the step where you actually try and win at Kentucky.
Yep. King of one and done, man.
It happened once. It was the Anthony Davis team. It was a loaded team. And now he's going to go try his luck at Arkansas, which is a great basketball school. Musselman built a really good program there. And they should do well in the SEC. They're going to be a scary team, but can Cal get them successful in the tournament? I don't know. The way he's been coaching, unless he kind of looks in the mirror and, goes back to the coach that he was, he's not coaching well right now.
You've already mentioned Klingon potentially going to the draft, maybe sticking around, aiming for that repeat. This is a weaker NBA class. So case in point here, like Bronny, LeBron's son, who was declared for the draft, but has also decided to enter the transfer portal at the same time. So props are up on him. DK Sportsbook, over under 39.5 for draft position here. You can also bet on the team who could potentially select him. What's your early take on this kid's NBA future?
Well, so if I'm betting that, I would bet under, but I think he goes in the top 39 picks because somebody's going to draft him to try and get his dad.
Yeah. So I've seen people mention the Knicks. The Knicks go out and try to grab him just because if you draft this kid, that is likely where LeBron is going to finish his career because he's been so vocal about wanting to play with us.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting conversation. How high is too high to take Bronny James? If
Which
someone's
going to reach for
or two of LeBron James. I would reach pretty high if you're one of these franchises that is just stuck in the middle of nowhere. Why not? Now, I think under 39.5 is going to void because I don't think Bronny is going to be in this draft. I think he's going to play at least another year of college basketball somewhere. He's looking at Ohio State, where LeBron has said he would have gone. He's looking at Oregon, where Nike headquarters is. And he's looking at, of course, Duquesne in the Atlantic 10. Because Drew Joyce, LeBron's high school teammate, just got the head coaching job at Duquesne. And maybe he can thrive there and be a star in the A-10, except for when he plays the Rhode Island Rams.
Yeah, or it's in Bonaventure.
The Bonnies are just get out of my life.
Very quickly, you're going to draft Zach Edey. Would you rather draft Zach Edey over LeBron? I guess it depends on what your needs are, right?
No, I would draft Bronny because it comes with LeBron. I think Zach Edey is going to be a stiff at the next level with all due respect.
Really? You know what?
Taco Fall-esque, if you will.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Our Lord and Savior, the King of UCF, America's team, Taco
What's he doing
Fall.
these days?
Yeah, I think he's playing somewhere overseas. Whatever, hang out because we need to dive into some NFL draft bets with you coming up in this show, Jules.
All right.
But coming up in 240 seconds here, people, Steve will return to the desk as we take a deep dive in today's MLB slate.
I want you to call your dad. I want you to talk to him, and I want you to thank him for all the times that he's allowed you to come into the clubhouse, be on his pass list, you know, let you hit with the big boys, that's pretty special, and it plays into a lot of what you're about. The second thing I want you to tell him is that now it's time for him to ask permission to be on Jackson Holiday's pass list, because you're going to the big leagues.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
That's
All right.
awesome.
I'm fired up.
I appreciate it.
I'm fired up. You've been exceptional down here, brother. To be 20 years old,
I appreciate
to handle
it.
all this stuff,
That's
dude.
awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Call your dad.
I will.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Jackson Holiday getting the call up. I mean, the Orioles, Bukes, waited all but 10 games into the season to call up their top prospect. Look at the youngest players in Major League Baseball. What do they all have in common here, Steve?
Jackson 3.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Look at that. 20 years, 33 days, 20 years, 131 days, 20 years, 360 days. Their parents all having a really fun night together around the same time 21 years ago or so. Bukes, he's not immediately the betting favorite right now to win AL Rookie of the Year, talking Jackson Holiday. He's close, though, and that number could shorten if he starts hot, which he
We still got to start getting some hits first.
Yeah. Right now, 3 games in, doesn't have his first hit. Did drive in his first career run against the Red Sox when he made his debut. Yeah, don't get us started there. But looking at AL and NL Rookie of the Year odds, I mean, like, none of these Jacksons are at the top of the board. But which one of them would you consider maybe betting right now to win this award?
Yeah, so I think that the National League is a little bit more open. I think the American League is pretty stacked when it comes to rookies. Like, you see the couple of guys up front there, 2 guys on the Rangers, Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter. But then the next 2 guys are Orioles, because they just have this farm system that continues to pump out these prospects at a ridiculous rate with Jackson Holiday and Colton Cowser. So I think that I would go with Jackson Trio over in the National League, because like I mentioned, the National League is pretty wide open here. Obviously, Yamamoto is in the front line here with the stuff that he's had. He's looked good in his the starts after South Korea, but after that, he's been looking fine here. But there really isn't anybody else to bet on between these 2 in the National League right now. So I think that Trio over with the Brewers is the play to make for Rookie of the Year.
All right, so Orioles are going to be clashing here today with the Brewers.
Yes.
So maybe we see Holiday get his first hit today. What bet do you like when we're looking at this game right now on today's slate?
Yeah, I like the over on the game total here. It's currently set at 8.5. These have been 2 offenses that have been hitting very well as of late. These teams are combined 15-8 to the over on the season in the very early going so far. You got Dean Kremer going for the Orioles, who's been pitching a little bit over his head as of late. He's got a 2.19 ERA, which is nice, but you look at his expected ERA, which is really a metric you want to measure a pitcher's numbers at instead, and that's at 4.69. So we're talking about a 2.5 run difference from his on-the-surface ERA to his advanced ERA, and like I mentioned, the advanced ERA, the expected ERA is what you really want to be looking at here. So I think he's due for some regression here, especially against a good Brewers hitting team. And then this Orioles team, even despite getting kind of blown out last night, that team just does not die. And that offense is just so good here going up against DL Hall this afternoon. I think that's a good game to bet the over on.
All right, and one of the biggest storylines right now, too, Steve, around baseball, really a polarizing topic around Major League Baseball has been pitching injuries here. And everybody on the planet seems to have a theory about why so many guys are going under the knife, why so many guys are heading to the IL. So the regular season isn't 2 weeks old, and already the number of battered elbows starting to add up. This list,
look at that list.
This list on your screen, we couldn't even fit all of the major pitchers on this thing.
It's like size 8 font
Dude,
we're using.
It reads like a Cy Young ballot for an entire generation, packed with once promising stars who never fully returned to form and established names who will have to bounce back to remain in the upper echelon of the pitching department. So Shane Bieber is on that list, and he spoke to reporters about his arm injury this week and got pretty emotional about it.
Baseball will be there. I will be here. It's easy to keep things in perspective. Like I said, it's just an injury that I'll get past. And like I said, I'm not the first person, won't be the last. I think one of the things that is a bit more difficult for me is that throughout the offseason and in spring training, like, I did figure some things out, and my performance was getting back to the place that I knew I was capable of. And I was falling back in love with pitching. and I was having a lot of fun, and this group's great, and they're capable of so much with or without me. I know I'll be a part of it, but just in a different capacity. So, there's a lot of emotions that go into it, but that's one of them.
That's a broken man.
Dude, it sucks to see these guys who have poured their heart and soul into their profession, into becoming the best at what they do. So that hurts. And he wasn't the only one who was on the list we just showed you who was very emotional when talking to reporters after going down. Real quick, before we talk Cy Young bets, what steps can MLB take to confront these pitching injuries here? Anything at all?
The other thing is, too, and I think it was Alex Wood who talked about this during the offseason, the training regimen for so many pitchers has changed over the course of the last, we'll say 5 years or so. And what he was saying was that, when the season ended, he was, done throwing till, December, maybe, potentially January. And that he also said, there were even some guys that a while ago wouldn't even start throwing until spring training actually opened. So they would take the entire winter off. Now that's unheard of.
Dude.
Guys just don't stop throwing. They don't stop working on their velocity. They don't stop working on, getting a higher spin rate because they're trying to overcompensate for all the new rules that Major League Baseball has implemented. And to be fair, I think that they are good rules. I'm not against them. But there obviously are consequences, and I think we're kind of watching those consequences play out right now. And then you have Dr. James Andrews saying that the Tommy John ligament actually doesn't fully mature until you're about 26 years old. Have you seen some of these college kids, these high school kids? They're already throwing 90 miles an hour.
And Dr. James Andrews mentioned, dude, the kids are throwing these crazy pitches.
Way too early.
Way too early.
So you got let's say, 17, 18-year-old kid pumping out 90, and we're still 8 years away from, that ligament being where it should be. So that's where these injuries are coming from. So it's it's not even just from the highest level. You almost got to start from the bottom up.
Yeah.
And take it from there. This is not a major league problem. This is a baseball as a whole problem.
And this has kind of opened up the Cy Young betting market in terms of.
If you have a Cy Young bet, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
I honestly do. I am grateful that I didn't end up firing away on a Cy Young bet.
Yeah, because likely someone you would have sprinkled something
probably
would be on the IL right now and potentially down for the
Here are the top 5 guys in the AL Cy Young conversation right now. Corbin Burns, Tariq Skubal, Cole Reagans, Luis Castillo, George Kirby. That is not what the landscape looked like 2 weeks ago. Not even close. Not even close.
What do you have to do? You gotta wait.
You have to wait.
Mid-season?
You have to wait. And to be fair, I've said this on the show before, it's silly to bet some of these awards preseason, especially if you're taking a favorite. Because so much can change. If you feel strong about a long shot and you're putting a little bet on something that's a 30-1 or a 40-1, I have no problem with that. But if you're taking an outright favorite in February or something, it's just nonsense. Because who was the favorite in the American League? Garrett Cole. How's that looking?
Yeah.
That ain't looking good at all. And of course, injuries can happen at any time. Steve, you can get injured at any time.
Yeah, it's true, dude.
Of course. But if you're taking these big favorites, why? If taking long shots early is fine, betting the favorites early, it just doesn't make sense to me.
I don't like giving him credit, but Jules said here on The Sweat last week, he's like...
He was here last week?
Shockingly, he was. It was his first appearance in studio in 4 months. So he said he even waited last year to grab Snell for a Cy Young winner, mid-season or later in the year. And still got a good number on it.
I'm telling you right now, you can still get a good number on a player for Cy Young June, even early July, before things really start moving around. Wait till then. Wait till that plays out and see how that looks.
All right, so then in terms of, before we head to break here, favorite DFS play on today's slate, are you looking at a pitcher?
No, I do like Jose Altuve
Okay.
for the Astros, even though I just
Wait a minute. Yeah,
He's
you
a-
just took a
Well,
dump
well,
on the
I
Astros
mean,
to
that-
start the show.
I understand that. It doesn't mean that they still can't hit
That's
some.
true.
I didn't say anything about
He
the
can
offense.
he can still produce, and the team can still suck.
He is one of the bright spots, the
There you
small lone bright spots on the Astros right now.
Short bright spot.
Yeah, hitting wow. Okay, hitting 345 with a 450 WOBA with 3 home runs so far on the season. When you look at his numbers last year's against lefties, he had a 367 WOBA, 136 WRC plus. Going up against Andrew Heaney, who has just faced the Astros last time out. One of the lone pitchers that's been getting beat up by the Astros at this point. 6 runs on 4 hits. They're just 3 2/3 innings. Good matchup here for Jose Altuve at the top of that Astros lineup. Should be in a good spot here against Andrew Heaney, who has not been looking too strong in a Red Sox uniform.
Good. A lot to look forward to on today's baseball slate. A lot to look forward to tonight when the sun goes down, if you know what I mean, because UFC 300 is here.
Oh.
The card we've been talking about for weeks, Steve, for months, hell, for years, is set for later tonight. Dave Ross from VSiN is here to help you navigate all the bets available on the DK Sportsbook.
All right.
after months of build-up here, it's finally here. UFC 300, meaty title fights, just a ridiculously stacked card featuring, what, 12 current or former champions, Dave Ross of VSiN, who's on the horn with us now, MMA handicapper. We were talking before we came live on air here. You are absolutely fired up for this fight, for this entire card tonight. Look at the smile on your face.
I can't get it off, Emerson. This is, by the way, seriously, and I know, when you're in social media and on X, everybody's going to, well, maybe the main event doesn't have the star power of a John Jones, of a Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor. It's like this card from beginning to end, Emerson, is by far the best card the UFC has ever put together. When you start off the night on the early prelims, with two former champions in Cody No Love Garbrandt against Davison Figueiredo, that's the first fight on the early prelims. This thing is just stacked top to bottom. Emerson, it's going to be a great night at UFC 300.
And the storylines galore here, really. So which one is the most compelling? Whether it's a fight, whether it's, a fighter with a storyline. I mean, go ahead, take your pick.
I'll skip ahead because there are so many, as you mentioned, Emerson, that you could just say, well, this fight is going to be fight of night. No, this fight's going to be fight of night. I do look at in the non-title bouts. Remember, we have 3 title bouts on the card. If you count the BMF title, I can't tell you what the M stands for and the F, but I think we can all figure it out because we're adults. But besides that, it's Do Bronx. It's Charles Oliveira against Arman Tsarukyan. And when you look at Tsarukyan, he feels like the next guy, right? And then Do Bronx is kind of like, hey, don't forget about me. I am one of the most decorated champions we've ever seen at 155 pounds in a division, Emerson, that's been absolutely loaded with killers in the UFC for years. This isn't like a new thing. 155, you can make the argument, has been one of the greatest divisions the UFC's ever had. And Charles Oliveira is one of the greatest champions that division has ever seen. And now you're going to make him almost a $2 betting underdog against Tsarukyan. And I get it, because Arman's one of those guys that, look, we get the fight down to the ground. That's where Arman wants to live. And constant pressure on a guy like Do Bronx. I think Charles is like, hey, man, if you don't get me out of there, and Arman might get him out of there early. If he doesn't, I've seen this happen in so many Charles Oliveira fights where you think he's down, he's out. He's either going to get submitted, he's going to get stopped, and he's still standing, and that bell rings, and the second round starts, and then Tsarukyan looks over and goes, why is this guy still here? It's because it's Charles Oliveira. It's arguably one of the best fighters we've ever seen at 155 pounds. I love the dog price here on Do Bronx to show the young kids that the old man still got it, and he ain't going anywhere. I think there's good value there. Yes, Tsarukyan could win pretty much a 3-round ugly wrestling match, controls Oliveira on the ground, but if he doesn't get him out of there, watch out. Do Bronx, I think, is really live. And I love the storyline of Charles Oliveira as an underdog in a non-title fight.
Yeah, and how tense could that fight end up being, too, when you consider, well, unofficially, a match with lightweight champ Mr. Islam could be waiting in the wings, right?
Yeah, and again, I think that Charles would like to get back to that spot and say, I've earned it, I've got there. And look, Tsarukyan really could be. If he goes out and dominates Charles Oliveira, I think that'd be a really intriguing fight against Islam Makhachev after UFC 300. So I think both guys kind of know what's on the table. And I love the way the UFC match makes, right? They're saying basically this is the old guard in Do Bronx, Charles Oliveira, against the new guard in Arman Tsarukyan. And if Tsarukyan is who we think he is, and by the way, he's legit. And I like the fact that he puts on the black hat, too.
Yep.
He doesn't care. They're like the old Floyd Mayweather. I get it. Do Bronx is the favorite. Everybody loves Charles, and they should, right? But I don't care about who you like. I care about winning the fight and moving on to the next step to my title escalation. And I think that's where Tsarukyan sees himself. And if he does go out and do just that, kind of like Ilya Topuria did when he got Alex Volkanovski out of there at 145 pounds, he doesn't care who the fan favorite is. He's just next. That could very well be. I'd be surprised if it's that easy for him. But that is the title ascent here. You beat the former, and you beat the guy that we all regarded as the best at 155 pounds before Islam Makhachev, and then that would be the next fight, Arman Tsarukyan against Islam. But to me, I think Do Bronx has got his one last say to say not so fast yet in this division. The hierarchy has not changed just yet.
What's the bet then between Bo Nickel and that glorious cauliflower ear? He's a heavy, heavy favorite here against Cody Brundage, dude. These are two former collegiate wrestlers, right?
Well, here's the problem, Emerson. If I know that Bo Nickel is the best wrestler out there that the UFC arguably has to offer, and that's what Cody Brundage does too. And look, no disrespect to Cody Brundage, because this is a guy he's a good UFC fighter. Is he a championship level fighter? I don't think so. So I think, again, the UFC and kind of wrestling parlance, this is a get-over fight. Why is Bo Nickel on the main card at UFC 300 where all the eyeballs are going to be on the MMA world in Las Vegas that night? It's to see everybody on that card, all those star-studded fighters, and Bo Nickel. So Bo Nickel is going to have the spotlight on him. Can he handle it? Look, we've seen other fighters that couldn't. I can go back to, say, a Sage Northcutt, who the UFC really wanted to put over as kind of the next young gun. He wasn't ready for it. I think Bo Nickel is. So the problem for Brundage as a co-wrestler is, do I really want to go down to the ground with this guy? You would think Cody'd want to keep the fight standing and see if he can land a clean shot and hurt Bo Nickel. Good luck with that. Look, there's no way I'm laying the big price tag here with Bo Nickel. I'm not going to put him in as parlay fodder. To me, there's just not enough value there. I think, Emerson, where you can find the value is Bo Nickel via sub. Okay. You can find that about minus $1.25. You're giving me a massive favorite and chopping that all the way down to almost even money, just laying a quarter here at $1.25. That's the way to play it for me. And you got 15 minutes to work. I don't think he's going to need all 15 minutes. And I think if he doesn't like the hands game with Brundage, then fine. Let's go down to the mat, wrestler to wrestler, and see who's got the finishing chops at the ground. And I think that's where Bo Nickel lives. I think that's where he thrives. I don't think the moment and the spotlight will be too big for him. I like to shorten that price tag by playing it via sub. Give me that at minus $1.25.
What's the move on the DK Sportsbook then for Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway here? This was a fight. There was confusion as to whether this fight was even happening or not.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I love Maxie. Maxie, baby, right? He's in the Ninth Island, Hawaii. Just tough guy, right, Emerson? He just wants to fight. He doesn't really care. And guess what? He's got a match in Justin Gaethje, right, from Colorado, training in the altitude there and never tires. These guys have cardio for days. And this is why, again, this is for the BMF title, right? And so, again, I can't say exactly what it stands for, but you can figure it out at home. So potentially 5 rounds. So to me, I go, well, why would Max Holloway take this fight? Why wouldn't he go back to his home where he was one of the greatest champions at 145 and say, okay, yeah, I'll go back and fight now against Ilya Topuria? He could still do that. But in the interim, I think he's going to get a great shot here at 155 pounds against a guy that's a willing striker. So to me, I love Max at basically solid plus money, because how is this fight going to play out? Gaethje's not going to wrestle. He could if he wants to. He never does. And guess what? It's the reason why they call him the highlight. This is a decorated college wrestler in Justin Gaethje who never wrestles. Why? Because fans don't want to see grappling all the time. They're not here to see Roman Greco wrestling. They want to see these guys stand and bang with the hands. That's what you're going to see. And who bangs better than Max Holloway standing? Nobody. So give me Maxie. I think this one's got a good chance to hit the cards as well. But I love Holloway at plus money here. And then if he wants to stay at 55, great. But if not, probably move back down to 145 and get another title shot back in his rightful division.
All right, bring us home. Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. Let's go. The last of 3 title bouts atop the card. Take it away.
Okay, here's the deal. I have so much respect for Jamal Hill. Why? Because he blew out his leg. And you know what he said? I'm not going to hold up the division as a champ. Go ahead, UFC, take my belt. And when I'm healthy, give me a title shot to get my belt back. UFC said, you got a deal. And now here we are a year later. Jamal Hill's back in there against a killer and Poatan at 205 pounds. Here's the problem, though, for Jamal Hill coming off this long, lengthy layoff. Is we know Alex Pereira for the left hook. We know him for the hands. Comes in, kind of hands down. Let's go ahead and brawl. Don't forget about those leg kicks, Emerson. And I think with a guy like Jamal Hill, who's got small legs, coming off a bad leg injury, for your first fight back to be against Alex Pereira, those leg kicks come, and all of a sudden you don't have a base, and then the left hooks come. To me, Alex Pereira Small money price that you're laying with Poetan here. A lot of respect for Jamal Hill to take this fight. And I don't even know if he was ready to take this fight at UFC 300. That tells me a lot to where his head is. Like, oh, really? You want me to be the main event at UFC 300? Cool, I'll do it. Don't know if I'm ready. Give me Alex Pereira to fire that bow and arrow.
Look at that.
And get the W in the main event.
This is
Saturday night.
This is the energy we need on this glorious Saturday morning. Dave Ross, you're the man. We'll be keeping an eye on you and all of your friends on VSiN later tonight. Hopefully everyone sets up 2 TVs watching the fight and then watching you on the other one. Everyone stick with us here after the break. We got NFL draft bets with Julian coming up. Which wide receiver could have a shot at dethroning Marvin Harrison Jr.? Welcome back to The Sweat, everybody. We're coming off a great conversation with VSiN host Dave Ross on the highly anticipated UFC 300. Jam-packed full of storylines tonight. For all the coverage and analysis, catch Morning Combat followed by Anik and Florian starting at 5 o'clock Eastern time tonight, only on DraftKings Network. Now let's bring back Julian Edlow for some NFL draft analysis. Not even a solar eclipse this week can overshadow the fact that the NFL draft is now less than 2 weeks away.
Wow.
Did you look at it without the glasses, the special glasses? The eclipse?
Oh, yeah, every time. I like OBJ looking out the window, and it just enhances my vision.
Listen, teams still have plenty of work to do here, and so does sports better. So as you can see, Julian Edlow has returned to the desk, folks. Another stacked wide receiver class. Outside quarterback. I feel like this is the position that's getting the most attention right now. And some reports say that there are teams out there that like Malik Neighbors more than Marvin Harrison Jr. Supposed to be that generational talent. We all saw how damn good he was at Ohio State. Neighbors plus 300 to be the first non-quarterback drafted, plus 1,200 to go pick number 4, Jules. Which one are you more likely to put some money on?
I honestly, looking at the market up there, like I would say, what if a lineman goes before a receiver, and look at Joe Alt like 10-1. But I will admit that there's probably a better chance than people think of Malik Neighbors going before Marvin Harrison. If you ask me to just pick it straight up, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably selected first. Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. were neck and neck in terms of high school prospects and how they were ranked. Neighbors put up ridiculous stats last year with a better quarterback, albeit at LSU and in a better offense.
The Heisman winner.
But for the Biletnikoff award for the top receiver, Harrison just barely beat Neighbors. So it's not I know based on name and how he's been in as a prospect, like
that's true.
We want to look at Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors is right there with him. So it's not crazy at all to think that he could go, Neighbors could go before Harrison.
And then you're seeing now conflicting reports about Neighbors being this high maintenance guy. These are the little things that are going to start to come out as we lead up to the draft, right?
Yeah, I mean, what receiver that's going in the top 10 isn't a high maintenance
I want a high
guy.
maintenance wide receiver. I do. They're the best wide receivers out there. Nice guys aren't good. You need to be high maintenance. You need to be self-absorbed.
Yeah, like you.
Want the football. You're damn
like
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good receivers in this class, and they're going to start going in the top 10. And, we're starting to get draft position stuff on the board, too. We got a couple of, in the first batch. Roma Dunze came out at 8.5 at DK Sportsbook. Brian Thompson Jr. opened up at 15.5 and has taken some money to the over. We'll see as more trickle out, but we're starting to get this process underway.
Bills need a wide receiver, especially now that Stephon Diggs is out.
Chiefs might, too, by the way.
No. Chiefs will not go wide receiver in the first round. What did I say they were going to do a few weeks ago? Go defensive lineman or offensive lineman or something? Yeah, I mean, listen, they're not going to go wide receiver. So the Bills minus 300 to draft a wideout with their first pick. How do we feel about that? Some of these teams that have such an obvious need at that position. That's a juicy number, though.
Yeah, you can't bet the minus 300, but we need to, I guess, figure out if they're going to make moves in free agency or not, because, I mean, you lose Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Gabe Davis with the Jaguars now.
Congratulations. You have a glaring need in the Calvin Ridley role. You got a glaring need, and it's a good receiver class, so it makes a ton of sense that Buffalo would do that. And that's one of the reasons I think a guy like Brian Thomas is taking some over money. That's a potential landing spot right there. And 15.5 is much lower than where the Buffalo Bills are picking. So I haven't bet anything NFL draft yet, but I really like betting the draft position over unders. Brian Thompson's over is one that I am warming up to.
How much are you warming up to J.J. McCarthy in this meteoric rise up draft boards over the past few weeks? How comfortable, I guess, would you be betting him? No.
Betting him any way I want?
No, sure. Or going at a certain position, going to a certain team. Lots of options on the DK Sportsbook.
I'm going to have to figure out the deal with J.J. McCarthy because...
What do you mean you have to figure out the deal?
Because I don't know what I believe. I don't know if I believe any of this. Now he's like we didn't know if he was going to be first round a while ago. Now, not based on what he did in pads, but based on what he can do in a T-shirt in a dome, now he's just the man and he could go 2 or 3.
Yeah, because there's the argument too, like, that's just a team that ran the frickin' football 50 times a game. It wasn't the
Right. So now it's like, well, he didn't have to do it in college, but trust me, if he needs to do it, he can do it.
No, it's a legit argument that you're making. This is why I'm so confused by it.
Yeah, it's starting to remind me a little bit of like Will Levis vibes. And you remember we did the draft shows last year with Will Levis. Could he go 2 to Houston? Could he go 4 to Indy? Or could he sit there all night and go the next day in the second round?
And he's not even dating his girlfriend, who was with him at the time.
He slid so far in the draft, he got dumped.
Yeah, that's right. She said, "You're a loser, bro. You're a loser, and I'm done with you. Now go drink your mayonnaise in your coffee and eat your bananas with the peel on it."
Yeah, still, you have a more strange diet than Will Levis somehow.
I'm a big relish guy. I don't know if you've heard.
A lot of relish. Relish is its own food group. So for me, we got all this like, oh, McCarthy's going top 5. His draft position's there on the board. Under 5.5 is more than minus 200 juiced. I like to have some info when I bet something, or at least scroll through some mocks closer to draft time and like have a feel for it. My gut call, if I'm betting this on my gut and you don't want to bet the draft on your gut.
It's a meaty gut too.
Over 5.5, big plus money, but I can't do it yet because what if all these people are right that these teams, the Patriots and the Commanders, are all actually falling in love with J.J. McCarthy because he can run around in a dome in a T-shirt and throw the ball.
That's where, like, I see teams like, the Giants who are rumored to want to move up and they're interested in J.J. McCarthy. I'm like, you already have that guy and Daniel Jones. It's like the same dude. There's teams like the Vikings or Raiders who have been rumored to be interested in moving up here. Like, how do teams, being in rumors to trading up, how does that impact like your betting approach here to these things? Like you got to kind of proceed with caution.
Yeah, that's something over the last couple of drafts that has bit me a little bit. Having a good bet that loses because of a trade, it affects the draft position or the team or the team that you're betting them to. Like you do have to be careful there. So that's one of the things that I would say have a little bit of caution. Here's one thing.
I know, dude. I'm out on it.
You're always out. Here's one thing that I am somewhat confident in. The Vikings are going to move up because they made a move to get another first-round pick, whatever that was, a month, 6 weeks before the draft. It's not like they just randomly decided, like, oh, there's somebody we like that could be there in the mid-20s. Let's get a pick there to get him. No. It's you want to take that 11 and that 20s pick and package it to move up. That's what you get those picks to do. So Minnesota is looking to move up is something that I feel good about.
Okay.
The rest of it, who knows? Like the Bears and Cardinals made a move in the top 10 with 7 and 9, I think it was last year, that changed how a lot of bets graded.
Yep. And then, so the total is up on the DK Sportsbook for the first round for all the positions here. So 4.5 is the total set for quarterbacks. That's juiced up to, last time I checked, minus 250. Odds makers are expecting, obviously, a very quarterback-heavy first round. Receivers, that line is set at 6.5 in the first round. Which position totals do you like right now?
Yeah, 6.5 is... It's hard. Like, I don't have much of a bet right now.
I know. I'm trying to pull some info out of you.
Thank you. Keep yanking.
What about offensive linemen?
Okay, so...
Ross Tucker's pretty high on
receivers under 6.5 is minus 175. A little bit too juicy. I feel like it goes under because when it's a deep receiver draft, sometimes rather than racing up to get these guys, you say, well, there's so many of them, we can wait, and we'll get one on the tail end. We'll get a good one in the second round, like when Hollywood Brown and N'Keal Harry went in the first round, and then who flies off the board later in the draft? Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown. So this draft could be similar to that. The elite guys, Neighbors, Harrison, sure, top 10 picks, Rome Odunze, somewhere in the late top 10, maybe he slides past it, but like, as you get to the end of the round, maybe it's, oh, let's fill with some of these offensive linemen, or we want to gamble on Penix or Nix, and we'll get a receiver in the next round because there's so many good ones they can slide.
Well, we talked about the Bills being heavily favored to take a receiver with their first selection there. What about another team you're feeling good about when it comes to the position they could be targeting with their first pick?
I'm not going to lie. I think the Chiefs take a receiver.
No, dude.
So
it's not going to happen.
This is probably a great thing. I'll just go head-to-head with your no-sweat bet from like a month ago.
Yeah, it was great. And then they ended up making a move at receiver, too.
They did bring in Hollywood Brown.
Thank you.
Rashee Rice has also been racing around town.
And they have a GM in the history in Kansas City where they haven't taken a receiver in the first round. They've been big second-round guys, dude.
Or maybe their first pick comes in the second round. We don't know where they're going to move around. So
okay.
I think Kansas City goes receiver. I think Buffalo does too, but I'm not laying minus
First
300.
drafted player, receiver. All right,
Even money.
Even money right now. And then, I mean, I was pushing offensive lineman and then possibly defensive line and edge there. All right.
D-line edge 15-1 is a steep one.
I guess this is you and me here, dude.
Sure.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here. We'll see you tomorrow morning because we're going to talk some college football futures with you tomorrow.
I love college football.
I know you do, and I'm hoping
there's NFL in there as well.
Yep, that's right. It's the NFL Pick 6. That's tomorrow. But for now, let's see what's cooking at Augusta National ahead of moving day at the Masters. Major storylines and weekend bets to target. That is coming up next right here on DraftKings Network and VSiN. All right, all of my gorgeous golf gurus watching right now, it is time to do that thing you like, the Masters, third round today. Oh my God, the weather is going to be so perfect. I wish I was there. I wouldn't be wearing clothes if I was there. That's how happy I would be to be there. Jeff Ulrich, I'm really happy that you are here right now. The top of the leaderboard looks really good. We got a 3-way tie right now, homie, for first place. And yeah, surprise, surprise, Scotty Scheffler is there. Bryson, Jeff, I didn't even realize, hit the clubs he's playing with, the USGA, just approved them on Tuesday. So he went out there and played a practice round, something with the grooves, I think, and they're deeper, whatever, and then felt good after Wednesday, and we saw what he did on Thursday, 65, which is really only a 2-under for him. But anywho, Max Homa's up there. That's kind of surprising. We'll get into that in a second. I want to start with Tiger because, props to you for saying, bet Tiger to make the cut. Very impressive setting that record, Jeff, for sure. But now I'm getting a little antsy. It's like, hey, you got any more of them Tiger bets here? Tiger top 20, Tiger top 10. I don't know. Just your overall thoughts on Tiger and then potentially how you would maybe bet him for the weekend here because no rain. It's going to be warm. His knees, his legs are all going to be feeling great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, look, the other thing about Tiger Woods is he got through the cut. Like that was kind of his goal. I don't know. I would probably rather start looking for ways to fade Tiger if I'm being dead honest. Like maybe go over on his round score.
Hey, yeah, there's head-to-head with he's got a head-to-head on DK Sportsbook, I think, with Hatton. I think Hatton maybe like minus 180 on that though, if you want to do the 2-ball thing.
I mean, I don't know if I want to trust Tyrrell Hatton necessarily, but I mean, minus 180 doesn't sound that much like, I mean, it's quite a bit of juice, but it's not that bad. I mean, I would probably look to maybe go over on his round total. Just looking here on DK, I actually kind of like the over 72.5. Again, I don't think this is necessarily a bet you have to make. I'm just saying if I was taking a Tiger prop one way or the other, I may look to go over on his score. Look, he hasn't played 4 rounds all year, in a competitive environment. His big 2 days were the first 2 days getting through the cut. Probably took a lot out of him. I'm just trying to narrate in my head a story of how Tiger's week may fall out. Who knows? He could go top 15, top 20. He's the greatest player in the world. He hasn't played for over a year, and he just made the cut at the Masters when guys were shooting +8. So it's a huge accomplishment. I'm not going out of my way to bet against Tiger, but if you had a way to bet him, I would probably go over on his prop. Yeah,
okay, so he is on the fringe of contention, which is kind of crazy. I just want to see him have enough stamina to play 72 holes, and I want to hear them Tiger roars around Augusta on Sunday. But hey, if this course stays spicy, anything can happen out there. And that takes me to my next question with this 3-way tie here. And even though Scotty Scheffler, Jeff, is technically tied with Bryson DeChambeau and Max Homa at 6-under entering the weekend, moving day today, I do believe there's a real chance we may look back at this trio come the end of the weekend and say, wow, those other two never really had a chance. So out of those 3, it seems like Scheffler has got to be the guy. If you're going to bet one of these 3 to win, Scheffler has to be the guy.
I mean, we're still getting plus money on Scotty Scheffler. And like you said, I mean, you look at the 3, Scotty Scheffler's been head and shoulders the best of them. Max Homa's been a little bit up and down. He did start to show some form in Florida, though. I know he was top 10 at the Arnold Palmer. He had a decent, well, I shouldn't say he had a decent Players. He played okay at the Players for a couple rounds, and then it didn't work out. But, Homa's a guy with a lot of self-belief. I've always thought Max Homa is a guy who could win a major. Absolutely. He's won on Players on courses like, Riviera and Farmers. I mean, these are courses that host major championships, right? So it seems like he's figured out Augusta. Bryson is his own kind of category as well. He's got a lot of self-belief too. He's a very self-confident guy. Probably thinks he's still the best player in the world. He's got these new irons in play. I don't think that it's necessarily as foregone a conclusion as maybe some people think it is, but certainly Scotty Scheffler, I wouldn't put anyone off the plus 120. I would personally probably rather take a shot or two way back. I think we'll see lower scoring today, and I do think that a couple players, behind these 3 are going to have a chance to potentially go low enough to get themselves in contention for Sunday. Okay,
before we talk about that, my only issue with Homa, and I think it actually will benefit him, that the fact that he played the first 2 days with Tiger Woods, he was like, man, I was just a fan out there really enjoying it. But those galleries were ginormous. You had enough people there to fill the island of Guam, Jeff. But number 11 golfer in the world, he's never put himself in contention for a major championship. So to handle this pressure will be totally different. And it's not an exaggeration to say that. He's never been higher than T11 at a 36-hole mark of a major. And even then, he was 9 strokes back. Only twice in his career has he entered the third round better than 35th. So talk to me about a guy who you think could be a little further back, because I do expect guys to go low today with the weather so perfect, that you think could potentially overtake some of these dudes, at least maybe today, and hell, entering tomorrow.
Yeah, look, I mean,
you mentioned Fleetwood. You mentioned Fleetwood in the breaks. Get to it.
I mean, look, Tommy Fleetwood, we'll start with Fleetwood. I mean, he played really good golf yesterday, but it was kind of Tommy Fleetwood conditions, right? Like the wind was up. He's a great scrambler. He knows how to keep his irons low. Is the course too long for him to go 65? I mean, he's shot 66 on this course a couple times. So, like, there is room there for Tommy Fleetwood to go low. I think that when you're looking at the -1 guys, I would probably trust him over Cameron Young, let's say, or even a little bit further down. So, yeah, I think that like Tommy Fleetwood plus 400 for a top 5 or plus 130 for a top 10 makes a little bit more sense than sprinkling too much money on the outright. But look, we are here to do the big hits. So Fleetwood would be the guy at -1 for me personally. But I think that the guy I really have my eye on, really there's 2. There's Cameron Smith at plus 3,000. Yes. And then there's Ludwig Aberg at plus 2,000. I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's Aberg's first time. He's never competed in a major either. I'm telling you, this guy's like basically, he's the Terminator. He figures things out at an insane rate. He's got the game to compete everywhere. And I'm telling you, it already looks like he's figured out Augusta. It's a player who went on the European Tour, won at a place in Switzerland where, it's usually a veterans course. He won the RSM Classic, usually a veterans course. This guy has a lot of game, man. And I'm saying, like, I really think he's got a 65 in him. Maybe it doesn't happen, but like, if you look at who has the best potential to go low, it's Aberg. And I think a plus 2,000, it's still a decent enough number. If this guy got himself in the Sunday final group, or even like the second to last group, where he's only a couple shots back, man, that would be a scary proposition to be going against for the leaders. So I think that Aberg at plus 2,000, probably the best outright, like pure value after the top 3.
And I know we give you crap a lot with Fleetwood because you have this odd obsession with him, but it is tough to ignore what he's done in major championships. Hell, the guy shot final round 63s in 2 U.S. Opens, including last year's at LA Country Club. He has the goods to make up ground in a hurry. And from only 5 back, no doubt he may be worth a look. What about people who are even further back than that? There's been some disappointments in this tournament so far. I mean, hell, golf is insane. You had Jose Maria Olazabal, who's played 2 events counted by the official world golf ranking since January 1st of 2022. He beat Jordan Spieth by 3 strokes, Dustin Johnson by 7 strokes. But looking at some of the dudes further down the board who could make a move here, who would you look at and what bets do you like on the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, I mean, look, it happens like every single year here at Augusta, where there's a couple veterans that just they squeak through the cut and they end up beating all these other dudes who like we're heavy favorites and stuff like that. So I look, if we're looking further back, I mean, I think that when you're looking at guys like at even and plus 1, like, I mean, it's not really, I don't think these guys have a very good shot. I mean, they let's be realistic. They don't have much of a shot at all, but certainly there's other ways he can play them. I mean, top 10 bets, top 5 bets. Yes. I think, I mentioned Cam Smith. Cam Smith's the guy who's finished like runner up, top 5 here, top 10 a lot of times. Plus 320 for a top 5, plus 110 for a top 10 even. I mean, I think those are the fact you can still get Cameron Smith, who was sick last week and seems to be getting healthier as the week goes on.
Yeah, he pulled out of that live event. Yep, you're right.
At plus 10 for plus 110, like still plus money for a top 10. That feels really good. Like that feels like a pretty solid price we're getting. But I mean, we can go further back. I mean, look, this is a guy I know you like, and I do think like you'll see Corey Connors play a little bit better. He had a really rough back 9, like really rough, but he's plus 550 for a top 10. He's top 10 at Augusta before.
3 out of the last 4 years. 3 out of the last 4 years, Jeff.
3 out of the last 4 years, and his last round, his first round, excuse me, he was one of the leaders in greens and regulation. So like he's hitting the ball well. He needs one good putting round, I think, to really get himself in contention for a top 10. Plus 550. I think Corey Connors probably bounces back today.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw out one like veteran guy who, probably
All right,
not too
hurry
many
up.
people
We got
are-
like
are looking
15
at.
seconds for you.
Lucas Glover, same price, plus 550. Played good so far. I think he can get himself into a top 10 position.
And let's not forget John Rahm top 10. Watch the birdies rack up. Lucas Glover,
Okay.
he's the one who is, he always has swamp ass on courses. Like he's a swamp ass meme left and right.
If you say so.
All right, everyone, follow Jeff.
I don't think it'll be in play today.
Follow Jeff on Twitter, everybody. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk more golf. And again, follow him on Twitter for more master stuff throughout the day. We don't need you for hockey, though, Jeff, because we have someone who actually played it joining us next. We're getting to the ... heart of the matter with Shane O'Brien. I'm missing curfew next. everybody, and I'm happy to be joined now by former NHL defenseman, one of the hosts of Missing Curfew on DraftKings Network, Mr. Shane O'Brien. Good Saturday morning to you. What's good, brother?
Thanks. Happy Saturday to you as well. Thanks for having me on. Hey, studio looks good. You're looking sharp. We call that a National League setup, buddy. Yeah, good job.
Dude, my wife dressed me, so I'm in the sweater. I'm feeling good. Listen, you feel good. You look good. You look good. I potentially sound good sometimes. You know who looks good right now, big man? Oh, let's just say the guys in the Hart Trophy conversation. McKinnon, heavy favorite. Kucherov. He leads the league in points here. Connor McDavid right there as well. But what I want you to tell me is, where does Austin Matthews rank in the Hart conversation, or just where he ranks among the best in the league?
Yeah, I mean, those four players in general are doing such a great job representing the NHL right now. And thank God that I'm a podcast host now and not a defenseman, because I want no business playing against either of those four guys. But what Austin Matthews is doing is unbelievable, right? He's at 67 goals. I said to the Updog last week on Missing Curfew that I thought he was going to get to 70, just because when he gets hot, besides maybe Ovi, him and Ovi are the only two guys I've ever seen. Once they get hot, they can score in bunches, and I mean bunches, like 10 goals in 4 games, something silly like that. So for me, I put my money at the start of the year on DraftKings on Nathan McKinnon to win the Hart Trophy. I think because he's got 50 goals, he's right in the race for the Art Ross. I think he's going to win the Hart. But what Austin Matthews is doing is unbelievable. Scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in the NHL. Believe me, I only scored 13 career goals, so I know how hard it is. But I just think Nate, the way he's been all year, consistency. And by the way, if Connor McDavid wouldn't have got hurt at the start of the year and they wouldn't have played as bad as they did, he'd probably be running away with this. But I think the Nate Dogg deserves it this year.
And Matthews now at 68 goals. He potted 2 in that disappointing loss to the Devils on Thursday. 7-game goal streak here. So we confident that he hits 70, right? 3 games to go?
Yeah, I wish I would have put a little money on it last week when he was at 63 or whatever. I probably could have got some good odds to get to 70. But yeah, like I said, man, he's so streaky. His release, he's just a pure goal scorer. Like I said about him and Ovechkin are the 2 purest goal scorers that I've ever, watched. I got the opportunity and privilege to play against Ovi. But what Matthews is doing is unbelievable. Hey, listen, time will tell. You talk to the Updog and a guy like Lupo, guys that were forwards and scored goals. They think if Matthews gets to 70, he deserves the Hart. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. Trying to be the 15th time in league history we could see someone hit that 70 goal mark. All those guys play on some playoff teams right now as well. And so you have 6 teams in each conference have already clinched a spot in the dance. Few other teams trying to grab onto those wild card spots. What's a potential first round matchup? What's one that would intrigue you the most?
Yeah, we got some good ones here. And for me, I'm going to, we're talking about Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I got to stick with the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I love Matty Tkachuk. He's been unbelievable to us at the podcast. I just love the way he plays the game. He's old school. He's a team guy first. He gets under the other team's skin. He's a great player in a 7-game series. So for me, we all know the Cinderella run they had last year. There's an opportunity that they could maybe still catch the Bruins with 2 games left and the Bees have 3 games left. I don't think they will. So that Florida Panthers, Toronto Maple Leafs matchup in the East. And then for me in the West, a couple of my old teams right now, the Vancouver Canucks versus the Nashville Predators. The Canucks and Rick Tocchet have overachieved all year. Rick Tocchet is going to win the Jack Adams for Coach of the Year. It's good to see playoff hockey back in Vancouver. I cannot wait to see the white towels go on. The city will be buzzing. There's nothing like playoff hockey in Vancouver. And then you head down south to Smashville, some of the best fans in the world. That team is playing unbelievable right now, led by my boy Ryan O'Reilly, the Fact Daddy. So that's a series that I can't wait to watch because both fan bases are unbelievable.
I have not been to a game in Smashville before. I hear the atmosphere is just unbelievably electric.
Yeah, and it's unbelievably electric after the game too, because they spit you out right on Broadway.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, where are we going, fellas? Let's go to Tootsie's for one. Let's go to the stage for one. So, hey, if you need some tickets, hit me up after the show. We'll get, maybe not this year, but we'll get you a game next year, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
I'll just be very careful if Morgan Wallen's around. Want to watch out for all those falling chairs off of balconies for sure. What about a team? So you mentioned the Panthers. What about a team like the Panthers last year that you could see making like a surprise run?
Yeah, you teed me right up, and it's my former squad, the Nashville Predators.
Nice.
Listen, I picked them to make the playoffs at the start of the year because they brought Ryan O'Reilly in, and I know how contagious he is in the dressing room, how hard he works, how good of a guy he is. He plays the game the right way, 200-foot game every single night. So I knew he would have a positive effect on him. I did not see this coming. Their goaltending is unbelievable. Roman Josi on the back end, Ryan McDonough. I don't think it would be as big of a surprise as the Florida Panthers last year because of how good Nashville played. But if they get out of the first round, I would say heads up for those boys.
They were one of the hottest teams in NHL, but have lost 4 of their last 7, but still remain, Nashville does, in the top wildcard spot in the West for the time being. What about when we're looking just big picture here at Cup odds? Hurricanes, Panthers, Avs, Oilers, all towards the top of the odds board on the DK Sportsbook. So if you had to place a wager right now on a team to lift Lord Stanley, which team would that be?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I wish I could narrow it down to one for you, but unfortunately, I got 4 teams that I picked at the start of the year.
All right, what do you got?
Out of the East, I got the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. In the West, I got the Colorado Avalanche and the the Vegas Knights. However, I will say this: whatever the Dallas Stars are at right there, what's that say? Plus 850.
Yeah.
They're not getting the respect they deserve. They got so much depth. They got 720 goal scorers. They got great defensemen. They got great structure under Pete DeBoer. At plus 850 right now, if you wanted to tickle the Dallas Stars, I think that would be a very, very good bet.
And they just had like a golden opportunity, too, I believe, to take the lead in the President's Trophy race with that Rangers loss. However, Dallas was shut out by Winnipeg 3-0, man. So that was a bummer there. I don't really know. Well, I guess when we can go ahead and we can look at this, like another year here when it comes to watching 2 of the best on the back nines of their careers. And they're still producing at this high level. Of course, we're talking Sidney Crosby, the great Sidney Crosby, who, of course, is just that, very good. Alex Ovechkin, and the latter getting closer to Wayne Gretzky's all-time mark in goals. And then you have Crosby just hit the 1,000 assist mark, okay, and moves into 10th place all-time in points. Do you believe that people out there fully appreciate everything that these guys are doing and have been doing for so damn long?
Yeah, I hope so. And the players obviously do, right? You saw the player poll come out that the most complete player in the NHL right now, the boys still voted that it's Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sid is he's gonna will his team into the playoffs here. And I talked to the Updog about a month and a half ago on Missing Curfew, and I said, if you ask Sid deep down, I bet you he believes they're still not done. And Up's like, well, he's a realist. I said, I know, Uppy, but these guys are built different. And sure enough, he's climbed his team right back into playoff hunt. And Ovi, I mean, when he walked on that plane with a foot-long Subway and Cheetos, man, it made my heart get a little bit bigger. For all this talk about nutrition and all this stuff, he's chasing down Gretzky. He's an old school guy. He's been unbelievable. They've been so good for the game. I was lucky enough to play against both of them, but I hope if the fans appreciate it, because when these 2 guys do hang them up, which doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon, they both will be missed.
Do you have any good stories going up against these 2 guys, either Ovi or Sid the Kid? Maybe you got the best of one of them, or they got the best of you at many moments?
You know what? It's them getting the best of me. So I got traded from the Anaheim Ducks my rookie year, where I went from playing about 12 minutes to 15 minutes tops, playing behind Pronger and Niedermeyer and O'Donnell. These guys, they went on to win the Stanley Cup. Still stings, not going to lie, still stings. But I get traded to Tampa, and all of a sudden I get thrown right out there, and I'm playing 20 minutes a night, over 20 minutes a night, and we go into Washington, and the coach is like, we're going to try to get you out there against Ovechkin's line tonight. And I'm like, why? Why would you get in my head? Why would you want to do that? And I just remember getting out there with him, and his speed and strength and the way he could shoot the puck through my legs. And after the first period, I remember sitting in the dressing room being like, to myself, I'm like, I got no business being on the ice against this guy. Like this is something I've never seen before. So the first time I played against Ovi, it made me realize I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I will say this, the one night in Pittsburgh, I got bumped up to play with Willie Mitchell, and we did a pretty good job against Crosby. I think we beat him 3 or 4-1 in their building. I think we kept Sid off the score sheet. So I did get Sid one night, but most of all, Sid got me over the course of my career.
Yeah, so it was pretty obvious to you that those 2 guys were 2 of the best to ever do it. Before you get out of here, I got to ask you what's going on with this Coyotes to the Salt Lake City area. Could move. I don't know. We don't have a lot of time to dive super deep into it here, and it's obviously a very fluid situation, but I lived in Salt Lake City for about 3 years. It's a pretty good hockey crowd, but that's just, for ECHL. I mean, how do you think an NHL team would do in this market?
Yeah, listen, I played against the Utah Grizzlies in the American League, so I spent some time in Salt Lake as well. Listen, it's time. I love Phoenix. I love Scottsdale even more. It was one of my favorite places to go into, down in Old Town, having a good time. But listen, they don't have a rink. And I've got to know some of these guys in the Coyotes. Clayton Keller, O'Brien, Lawson Krause, guys like that. Schmaltzy, they're good guys. They're NHLers. They deserve to have an NHL setup and a legit building. And listen, Ryan Smith from Salt Lake seems to be like he wants a hockey team. Gary Bettman has done everything he could to keep this team there. Unfortunately, I think the time is now. And why not move it to a great hockey city like Salt Lake? And Utah's a great state.
Yeah, man.
It's doing well. Park City's blowing up.
Oh, it's sick.
I think it's a good thing for the league.
Yeah. All right, Shane, it was good catching up with you, man. Anyone who wants to hear more from this gentleman right here, catching Missing Curfew, rather, Wednesdays and Fridays here on DraftKings Network. Thanks, homie. We'll talk to you later. Coming up next, Love Hurts. Two of the NFL's top quarterbacks will square off in the league's first regular season game in Brazil. Steve's way too early leans on this one when we wrap up the sweat. All right, folks, check it out. First time ever a regular season NFL game is going to be played in Brazil. And Steve, it's going to be the first Friday of the regular season. Love hurts. So Jordan Love and the Packers, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. My dude, I was just reading about the travel arrangement here.
There's a lot of stuff involved.
There is a lot of stuff involved.
So you give your travel thing, and then I'm going to give the color thing.
Okay, so the travel thing is, so it's not usually very complicated, I guess, for the Packers to fly out of Green Bay, but they will likely not be able to take a direct flight to South America. So that either means they're going to have to schedule a layover somewhere, or they're going to have to pack everyone in a bus, not just one bus, but I'm sure multiple buses, 2-hour bus ride to Milwaukee to fly out of the airport there. That's just something they're not. That's probably what they'll do, because the airport in Green Bay is not built to take a big enough plane that you need to get to South America.
That's insane.
It is kind of insane, right?
I feel like, granted, I'm not up to date on airports.
Oh, I am.
feel
I'm
like
a
Green
big
Bay
airport
would be
guy.
considered a
Airport
major-
beer guy, airport whatever
we're not talking
guy.
about that. But I figured Green Bay is like a major airport. Would you not think that?
Dude, it's not. Have you ever been to Green Bay?
No.
It's a beautiful city. The people are absolutely phenomenal. Around the stadium is tremendous, but it's just not a big enough city to take a jumbo jet into and out of.
So the color thing.
Yeah, so talk to me about this, because I know you're a big color guy, and you're kind of wearing like a mesh, like a combination of both colors right now. Go ahead.
Would you say so?
What do you got? Actually, yes.
Well, maybe.
What's the color?
So anyways, so the football over there, obviously very serious in South America, but the team that plays there have banned the color green because that's their rivals' colors.
Wait.
And now you bring in two teams whose primary colors are green. So how are they going to finagle that one? Like, that sounds like it's... So I would assume...
there could be some gang activity then.
No, that's...
People getting
not what
pissed
that means
off.
at all.
They get fired up. Oh, I thought that's
they
what
do.
you were...
Hey, have you seen like something like them beating up referees and stuff? Like
Absolutely.
They make bad calls and
you know how
stuff?
many people over here in America would love to beat up referees?
No,
but we send people
beat up
to
the
jail for
umpires.
that.
Beat up the umpires.
Oh, you mean Angel Hernandez?
Angel Hernandez, how that guy still has a job. Like, if he still has a job, then I should never be able to get fired. Because if that guy can mess up at a job as much as he does. But, yeah, so they can't wear green. So I want to know, like, what they're going to do.
My thing is, so if you're going to walk around the hotel, take in some of the sights and sounds of the beautiful city, the largest city there in Brazil, São Paulo, is that how you pronounce it? So
Close enough.
you're not going to want to wear green.
Yeah.
You could be kidnapped and held for ransom.
Because there's going to be fans supporting their team, but they're not going to wear green.
100%.
That's going to be interesting.
So we do have the odds up for this game, by the way. Howie, if you want to go ahead and make your way
Walk
on
over there, Howard.
So it's
Take a
at
little camera.
1.5 right now. But Steve, so September 6th is still
Like
5 months away. So depending on which book you were looking at, and you're looking at DK Sportsbook, the best book out there, the point spread kind of passed through that 3-point mark. That's the most key number
Critical,
in football betting, right?
And
the Packers are darling for bettors for whatever reason, with the ascent maybe of quarterback Jordan Love, especially in the second half of the season. But right now, this is nearly flipped, depending again on what number you saw when this thing came out. What does that tell you? Does it tell you quite a bit about the thoughts surrounding each team this season?
Well, yeah. So we never had at this number, but there were other books that opened up. It opened up at 3.5. And now, we got it here at 1.5. So, I mean, that just tells you right there, like, what the public is thinking of these two teams.
So some of these books, again, open 3.5.
Yeah.
Packers 3.5-point underdog. Within a day, it had moved to 1.5.
And that takes a lot to move at 2 points. Actually.
Crazy.
Right? Because, like, if you think of, like, during, like, the NFL week, like, we'll see maybe a half a point here and there, but, like...
A game 5 months away.
Yeah, something critical usually has to happen for, a multi-point in either direction. But that just kind of where, the public felt, or sharp better start, that this was priced incorrectly. And now it's sitting at this. I mean, it's nearly a pick at this point. But there are still a lot of dominoes that have to fall. Like, I'm not looking to bet this, 5 months away. It says it right there. It starts in 146 days. I don't need my money tied up in a game one, what really could be viewed as an exhibition, even though this is what's kicking off the season. But week one is just is an exhibition week.
Yeah, it is. And which kind of takes me to my next point. Like, producer Slates was in here and was like, oh, man, under 50. And And I'm like, well, he kind of has a point. I think we've seen a trend, especially since the preseason has been shrunk to 3 games. Guys are playing less in the preseason. Everyone is so nervous, walking on eggshells, trying to avoid that catastrophic preseason injury, like those Achilles injuries, ACLs we've seen over the last few preseasons here, that maybe the under right now of 50 points for the game total. If there was such a bad idea.
If there was something I was going to take right now, which I'm not taking right now, it would be the under.
Yeah, these guys in Brazil, they're out at Brazilian steakhouses. It's meat sweats and all sorts of stuff. I'd be worried. I'm going under.
I will say,
I'm gonna bet the under.
If there was one move that I've liked a lot in the offseason, was that the Packers bringing in Xavier McKinney, because that fills such a need that they had during the offseason to stop these long runs or whatnot.
There's some new names we'll see on these teams. Josh Jacobs for the Packers, and then we're going to see Saquon for the first time in an Eagles uniform. Now.
Saquon behind a good offensive line. That's something we haven't seen in years. So it's going to be a great game.
Even with Kelsey out now, they're going to have a new center in there. Their defense they've released everybody on that defense.
Yes, but I do think that the Eagles do have still one of the best offensive lines in football.
Real quick, because, and I know Jules isn't here with us for this last segment, which, we could really use him, but, whatever. He wants to go on another vacation. We have had nearly 6 months of basketball, Steve, in the rearview mirror. And right now, all teams in the NBA are off today.
Right.
Tomorrow will be the final day of the regular season. We still haven't determined which team will have home court advantage throughout the Western Conference playoffs. So buckle up, folks, because Sunday is going to be one hell of a ride. So in the West, 3-way tie at the top for the number 1 seed between the Thunder, Wolves, and the Nuggets. It's the first time in league history where, through 81 games, 3 teams carry identical records with a chance to snag that top seed. With all 3 in the same division, the 3-way tie is going to be decided by a record in head-to-head matchups. OKC finishes first in that case with a 5-3 record against the other couple of teams. Jules has been pretty adamant on the Nuggets being the number 1 seed in the West, when there has been such a good number on OKC to be the number 1 overall seed, and they could end up taking that thing. And I cannot wait to stuff Jules in a locker when OKC claims that number 1 seed tomorrow. Now, does that mean a team with that much young talent is going to make a deeper run in the NBA playoffs? I don't know. Maybe not. But they're going to be an absolute force for seasons to come. Let's go to the East, because the 2 seed here, Steve, is up for grabs. Bucks, Knicks, and the Cavs right here, all in the mix. Milwaukee holds the tiebreaker among those teams there. Sixers are trying to climb out of the play-in tournament spot. They're tied with the Magic and the Pacers with identical records. Those records, 46 and 35. So again, no games tonight, and all of these games, I believe, in the East and West are going to be played at the same time. You've kind of seen the NFL do this over the past few seasons. That way no one can sit there and scoreboard watch. And we're going to see everybody playing their asses off, because right now, I love this. I love this. For a season that's 82 freaking games long and finally comes down to the last day of the regular season, if you're not dialed into the NBA now, tomorrow would be a good start. And Claudia will be on this show with us tomorrow. And she's got a lot of props in mind, because some of these teams that are locked in can't claim that number 1 seed. You need to be cautious when betting them on the DK Sportsbook. So there's going to be some stars that may not play. There's going to be some under-the-radar players who you may want to target in the props department. So Claudia is going to help us out a lot with that tomorrow.
I don't know how you can bet the NBA during the regular season, truly.
Well, they've done a lot better with the load management thing.
Yes.
There was nothing.
Last year was abysmal.
It was abysmal, which is why they set a minimum for a lot of these guys to play if they wanted to be in the conversation to win some of these big awards. And a lot of these guys, you win these big awards, you end up making a little more money here. So it sucked. I think earlier this year, when the Lakers came to Boston for the only time this season, LeBron sat, AD sat, and that sucks for a lot of hardworking families around this area and other cities who spend an ass ton of money to go to a game. They bring their kids, and you're paying $20 for a glizzy, $50 for a bucket of popcorn, $80 for a freaking beer, especially if you have your kids with you. You have to be buzzed up. Your kids are with you. Stop doing that. Just play every game. You make a lot of money. I get it. You're an investment to these owners and everything. Just play basketball. Please. Do it for the future.
At WrestleMania, which just went by this weekend, a beer was $17 at WrestleMania.
This is why I need to get to the Masters, because a beer is like $3 there, but it also costs you like $3,000 for a ticket.
I was going to say, they get you other places. They get you in other places.
Which, by the way, pimento cheese sandwich or an egg salad sandwich, both $1.50. Which one are you going to feast on?
First one, I don't want an egg salad.
You don't want egg salad?
No.
I love them both.
No.
Big Southern
I'm
thing.
not an
I'll
egg
throw a little
salad guy.
slab of fried bologna on top of that. Ooh, baby. We're going to throw a
Where
slab
did you
of a
get
bunch
fried
of...
bologna from?
That's a Southern thing, dude. A little spicy mustard. All right, we got to wrap it up. We're back here tomorrow morning, VSiN DraftKings Network, live, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We will see everybody then. Claudia joining us. That's right, baby, because we don't like jewels.
Yeah.